Welcome to the White Knight Theater. Some people might describe me as a lone wolf in a very unpleasant way. Do you agree? I agree. If you insist on following this strategy, then you should remove me from the position of lead counsel. What? That's impossible. How could the bloodstains found at the crime scene have such components? Dr. Lee Chong-yu made a significant breakthrough in exploring the blood evidence, and this clue has become the defense's last trump card in court. After the possibility of police planting evidence was formally raised, where will the Simpson case go? It is reported that after the Simpson case entered the trial stage, the chief prosecutor for the prosecution remains Prosecutor Marcia Clark. Next, we will connect with Ms. Marcia to ask the police for their views on the subsequent trial. Hello, Marcia. I wouldn't be surprised if you said that in the interview before. If there is one thing I am wrong about, I don't have the responsibility. Does this sentence mean that the prosecution is determined to prove Simpson's guilt? I'm indeed very confident about this case. The prosecution will take a macro strategy based on the case. We have a lot of evidence. There is no doubt that Simpson is the perpetrator. In August 1994, shortly after Simpson was formally charged, a court document allegedly leaked by the authorities was exposed by the media. Among them, the DNA test results of the Simpson case by the prosecution were particularly eye-catching. According to the court document we obtained, the bloodstains found at the first crime scene on Bunny Drive were tested and matched O.J. Simpson's blood type, and both have the same DNA genetic markers. At the same time, the probability that these bloodstains come from other people is only about 170 million to 1. Today we also invited Dr. Wharton. Dr. Wharton, can you explain the meaning behind these professional terms from the perspective of a DNA expert? Simply put, the data shown in this document proves that it is almost 100% certain that Europe was at the first crime scene before and after the incident and left bloodstains there. This court document had two completely different effects on society at that time. Professionals believe that this DNA test result almost sentenced Simpson to death in advance. However, the vast majority of ordinary people did not have much reaction to this direct evidence because the DNA technology widely used in the 21st century was still not well known to the public in the mid-1990s. In fact, since the discovery of the DNA double helix structure in the 1950s, the application of DNA technology in the field of criminal investigation has been mediocre. In the 1980s, various DNA technologies represented by RFLP molecular markers had matured, but due to two limitations, it was difficult to achieve high-sensitivity qualitative analysis, and thus often fell into the awkward situation of not being able to provide accurate answers when participating in the investigation of cases. First, DNA technology at that time had high requirements for sample quality, and in most cases could not meet the needs of detection. Secondly, because there was no corresponding database established yet. Even if the police collected enough samples, the final analysis results would be very difficult to find a match when compared with a known DNA database. If the criminal's DNA record is not in the database, the police can only collect new samples within the range of suspects and conduct a reverse search, which is even more time-consuming and labor-intensive than traditional methods such as fingerprints. In the O.J. Simpson case, the LAPD used the polymerase chain reaction method, also known as PCR. This technology can replicate part of the DNA, allowing lower-quality samples to be analyzed as well. In Connecticut, Dr. Lee Chong-yu and his assistant Sam were the first to get the news. The immense pressure came again, and this time, the doubt about whether O.J. Simpson was guilty loomed over the defense team like a dark cloud. Dr. Lee was also very puzzled. Sam, what do you think? If the DNA report is true, ordinary people may not understand, but we know that it almost determines that O.J.'s blood did indeed appear at the first crime scene. The perpetrator could be O.J. If so, are all our inferences about the time of the crime, motive, or other evidence wrong? Did we focus too much on the details and ignore the big picture? You've lost confidence. Well, in my opinion, what happens next may have nothing to do with us. It's just a matter of how much room the defense team can negotiate for O.J. in terms of sentencing. To be honest, I'm surprised by the conclusions shown in this report, but I can assure you that all our previous investigations, tests, and analyses were responsible and completely objective. Something must have gone wrong somewhere. This sentence quickly spread through the defense team like a popular slogan. Meanwhile, in September 1994, the jury members officially began the selection process. According to the jury system, there are 12 jurors and 12 alternate jurors. In November 1994, a jury consisting of 8 women and 4 men was selected. This jury included 8 African Americans, 1 white person, 1 Latino, and 2 mixed-race individuals. In December 1994, an alternate jury consisting of 7 African Americans, 4 white people, and 1 Latino was selected. Throughout the Simpson trial, several jurors were dismissed for various reasons, and at least 5 were found to have experienced or witnessed police violence. However, until the end of the trial, when the jury began deliberations, the final composition of this jury was still predominantly African American. To this day, many media outlets still believe that the racial composition of the jury at the time was inappropriate when reporting on the Simpson case. But in fact, the composition at that time was due to 2 objective facts. First, the racial composition of the population in downtown Los Angeles at that time was proportional to the racial composition of the jury. Second, due to the sequestration system during a trial, jurors participating in the Simpson case were likely to experience a sequestration period of more than 6 months, during which they could not communicate with anyone outside and could not discuss with each other, and they could only receive a maximum daily allowance of $50, which many candidates with high education and high-paying jobs could not accept. In the social context at that time, people with higher social status were mostly white or male. After the final jury members were determined, a total of 24 jurors and alternate jurors entered a hotel in downtown Los Angeles on January 11, 1995, to begin their sequestered life. Meanwhile, Dr. Lee Chong-yu faced a challenge at a police training conference in Connecticut. All right, the content I'm going to talk about today is something I've been talking about for years, and every year I see some new faces, so I've made some adjustments to the course content. I need to grow too. Hee. Do you have any questions? I really want to communicate more with you. Really? Dr. Lee, I'm asking, dare you answer? What does this guy mean? Sure, young man, I've always admired you. For you, I've taught myself a lot of forensic knowledge. For you, I took such a difficult exam to become a police officer. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. What kind of person do you think I am? The kind of person who disregards the facts. Why have you handled so many big cases and helped so many innocent people in the past, but now you're helping a murderer with undeniable DNA evidence? Just because I have money, huh? What's your name? Jason. Well, I'm happy to discuss this with you. You shouldn't use the word undeniable. Firstly, up until now, the O.J. Simpson case has not been conclusively resolved. Whether he committed murder will be determined by the American legal system, which will not let any truly guilty person go unpunished. Secondly, we have always emphasized the need to objectively assess evidence and facts. What does objective mean? It has 3 requirements. No preconceived notions, examining from multiple perspectives, and conducting hands-on verification. I have seen that DNA report, and I will personally examine the evidence provided by the prosecution, including the blood samples. If the results match the report, I will not conceal anything. I will never give up. But it's not about giving up the notion that he is or isn't the murderer. It's about not giving up on deepening and further deepening the research. Lastly, all the fees I have received for these cases will be donated to the forensic laboratory. You can all monitor me together. Thank you for your sincerity. I'm really sorry that I just now. No, this is your strength. You don't need to apologize. As a police officer, your eyes should not tolerate any sand. Well, if your boss gives you trouble, just give me a call. A week later, Dr. Lee Chong-yu, carrying a complex sense of pressure, obtained the separated blood evidence. With Sam's assistance, the 2 of them began to examine this part of the evidence together. Most of these blood samples came from the police. In a laboratory at the first crime scene, which was Nicole's home on Bundy Drive, Dr. Lee Chong-yu, after completing the second round of re-examination, signaled Sam to confirm the test results together. But usually calm, Dr. Lee suddenly became tense. Sam, where did this blood sample come from? He asked. Let me check the file name, Sam replied. Ah, this should be the blood stain found on the back door of Nicole's house. Why do you ask? If I'm not mistaken, this blood sample contains EDTA, ethylenediamine tetrashic acid, Dr. Lee said. What? That's impossible, Sam responded. EDTA, an anticoagulant, is usually added to blood samples in small glass bottles and test tubes to prevent blood from clotting. How could bloodstains found at the crime scene contain this component? Is your test finished? Dr. Lee asked. Yes, it's done, Sam confirmed.